Yeah, let me take a couple deep breaths for this last fight. We got the last fight, the main event, freaking for the lightweight strap, which really should be a defense, a title defense. Let's get real with this. Let's be real, buddy. Title defense with, I mean, even Khabib had to say, like, yes, both these guys are the two best. They think, well, see, there's an argument. The argument with Islam is he's unproven. He's won 10 straight. And he hasn't been able to get all his opponents. So a lot of guys don't want to fight this guy for one. He fought Bobby Green on 10 days' notice and ran through him. All due respect, I mean, I'm a fan of Bobby Green. He's been on in here. And he's a great fighter, maybe with a training camp, and it could have been a totally different fight. Instead of just off the couch weighing 190, or you just got to make weight again. So I mean, that's here or there. Sandhagen, or I think it was Sandhagen. I think same thing, or no, Hooker, Dan Hooker, same thing. It was a short notice fight. He was able to just smash. We all know Hooker's ground game's not his main asset. So I mean, his main attribute. So I mean, that's a tailor-made guy for Islam to go out there and ragdoll or just take it down anyway, and finish the fight fast. Get to a position where he feels safe and go for the submission. So that's the thing with Islam. He's not as reckless as Khabib. Like Khabib will go out there and just freaking flying knees across the cage, whatever he's got to do to try to just get in close and close that distance and get in your face and chase you until he catches you and drags you down. Islam's not as much like that. He's a little more technical. He might be a little more patient in the center of the octagon and wait for a mistake or wait for that opportunity, grab a leg, work his way up, single, double. I mean, get to the hip, drag people down. They like to get to the body lock and drag people down. I mean, that's what they do. They wear you out that way. You get up, they drag you right back. I mean, it's rinse, repeat. But it's a game of inches. Like they're inching their way up your body. And once they get it, they're like, especially Islam. Like he's not going to go reckless. Like Khabib, he's immediately trying to pass. He's trying to smash right away, throw bombs. But, against someone who might be able to throw it that style, might be able to deal with it, they might be able to sweep or get out of it or get up again. The way Islam is, he's like inching his way to you, to the position where he wants to be, where he's putting so much pressure, you're going to give him something. You're going to make a mistake, and he's going to take that limb or neck or whatever and submit you. So, I mean, that's kind of what he does. He's not as wild or dangerous. He's dangerous. I mean, he's not as reckless as Khabib. So he comes out there a little more calculated, a little more like what you're going to give me, what you give him, So this is going to be a very interesting fight. It's not exactly like if Charles was going to fight Khabib, it's Khabib. It's very close, like because they'd still come from the same, they train together, all that. So it's pretty much right there. But technically speaking, is a little different. I think Islam's a little more of a better striker as far as technically speaking, kicks and just they look better anyway, more crisp, whatever. Because I mean, like Khabib's a little more unorthodox and comes from weird angles, and I mean, so it's not what you're training for on an everyday basis, where you're like, do this, do that. Like he's coming in here a little weird, hands down, throwing a lot of jabs and not carrying what lands, and just awkward, awkward timing. That's why I like Quinta said he was an awkward guy. I like Quinta usually catches at least lands a punch on somebody. He couldn't really land on Khabib too much. And that's the only thing he couldn't pull the trigger. I mean, he wasn't able to because of that awkward style and awkward timing and just distance and all that. So I mean, it's kind of hard to train for that. But I think Islam's a little more conventional style, I would say, as a striker. So that kind of actually helps Olivera, I think, a little bit. Olivera has been dropped like in his last few fights, like 6 times, like in the last 3 fights, some shit like that, 8 times, whatever. He's been dropped a lot. So, and he's always had to come back from adversity and win these fights. But and that's the thing, and that's the difference in this fight. Like Gagey rocked him, dropped him. Chandler actually did take him to the ground though, and was on, and he had his freaking neck. He was almost choked out, but he had to fight off a submission. But he wasn't afraid to go to the ground and just beat him up down there. Like because he has some great jiu-jitsu defense himself. Chandler, I mean, the guy is so freaking jacked and no neck. I mean, trying to tap that guy's neck, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have a fucking neck, but so I mean, you got those type of guys that really didn't want to go to the ground too much. Like Poirier rocks him, he just kind of lets him get back up because he didn't want none of that, on the ground. And look what happened when it did finally get to the ground. He didn't actually get to the ground. I think he jumped on his back and choked him from a got on his back and got that rear naked choke from standing. but it just shows the dangerous and the creativity and the fluidity of Charles Oliveira's ground game and attacks, and just basically transitioning from submission to submission effortlessly. Nothing at all like where it's like, oh, I'm going in here. They're total opposite of like Makachev is like inching his way there. He's got the position. You know what's coming. He's going to get you. Like Olivera, you kind of never know what's coming. You know what I mean? Like he could have one thing, and then you bust out of that, and you're right into another submission. Then you get out of that, and you're into another one. He's a step ahead of you as far as, but he's going straight for the kill. Every move is straight to a better position. So it's like and it's just unpredictable as far as that. But there's a way to kill those hips. Paul Felder was able to ground and pound him and beat him up on the ground. That was a long ass time ago. I mean, he's won 11 straight now. So I mean, I think the move up to lightweight is what really, like, everyone's trying to say he had a kid. I think Rogan was saying something like that. I think it might, of course, that helps too. I mean, some people, they get better, some get more like, distracted and not as, focused on the fight game. But I think with him, it was more the weight, because he was probably killing him. I mean, look, the guy looks like he barely makes 155 now. He missed weight last time. So it's like he's probably, I could see him going to 170 eventually. But I'm saying he was killing himself to get to 145. He was a young 18-year-old kid, I think, when he started, 18, 19. So it's like naturally as you age, you put on weight as well and size. So, I mean, I just think once he moved up to 55 and stopped killing himself to get to 45, that kind of increased his ability to take damage and be able to absorb those shots and come back instead of, because before I was always saying, man, he was weak to the body. Like if you could, hard-ass body kicks or punches, he might wilt, and then you could just finish him from there. That was as a featherweight, but as a lightweight, he's been able to come back from being rocked and finishing the fight, like either immediately or just, over another round or two, whatever. But technically, because the thing is with Olivera, he comes out of guns blazing from the start. He comes out just boom, stop, just straight up Muay Thai style, high guard, even though he still gets hit a lot, but high guard, he lets his hands go. He's throwing kicks already right off the start to the midsection. I mean, he's letting it all go right away because he is so confident with his ground game. He's got to be a little bit more careful with that with Makachev, because you don't want to give him such a great entry where he's going to get a great position on you with a takedown. It's one thing if, Olivera could, like when he got dropped by a Gagey, end up on his back and have his, like, come into my guard, buddy. Like, come on. He could be like that, like Verdum used to do back in the day. But that's fine, because, you're going to just willingly, like, all right, I'm going to jump in your guard. Fuck it, let's go. I mean, because, he's going to, I don't think Islam will be that scared of that, but just because of his top pressure. And, but I just think that when it comes to, like, he can't be so reckless where he's going to give, like, Islam his back, where he's going to be able to body lock him and maybe drag him down, I mean, and inch his way like the way he likes to do, because Islam's not going to be as reckless and do something crazy. He's going to keep his grip and he's going to keep control. So, I mean, that's the one thing. So, I don't know. On this fight right here, I've been back and forth, obviously. I mean, I like what Islam's doing. I get what he's doing. And he is like another Habib, basically. Like, I don't want to say another, he's like a version of that style of wrestling and fighting. Maybe not at the ferocity of Habib. Like, these guys look like they're running for their lives, when they're fighting this, Habib, because he's coming guns blazing. He don't give a shit. I'm not stopping for shit. He's running through a wall to get to you, So, I mean, Islam's a little more reserved, I guess. It's the personality thing, I think, more than anything. But he's just as good technically and probably maybe even better, skill-wise. But the thing is, it's like I'm a fan. I always like Charles Oliveira. I remember his first fights, and I was always rooting for him even at 145. I mean, I was rooting for the guy. I just liked him. I liked his style. I like how he brought it. But same time, he had a lot of losses back then. I get it. But just the resurgence, I think it's more of the weight than anything. He can take more damage and recover. But he's just an exciting fighter. I mean, every time he fights, you got to watch. I'm be on the edge of my fucking seat. I mean, these guys, he brings it every time, and nonstop action, and always dangerous. That's the thing. Dangerous on the feet, everything he's throwing. Like Gagey said, that was the hardest he ever been hit. Gagey's been in there with Dustin Poirier. He's been in there with Khabib. He's been there with a lot of guys who hit hard. Michael Johnson cracked him when he welcomed to the UFC, and he came in and caught his ass, a couple of times. So, I mean, Gagey's known to be tough as shit and just be able to be in these wars. Palomino, all these guys back in the World Series of Fighting. He was getting in wars, and so I mean, he definitely can take some damage, and he was like, that was the hardest I've ever been hit. And I think it was just more of the precision of it, kind of like Anderson Silva. Like he's a skinnier dude, like not so huge, but it's like just the precision and sharpness of it and quickness of it. And that's what happened with Charles. It was just boom, right on the button. And next thing you know, like everything he's landing is just straight there, where it's supposed to be. And that's just hours and hours of training and confidence. And like I said, he could go a little reckless himself because he knows he has such good, he has the most submissions in UFC history, most finishes, period. But as far as submission wise, I mean, he goes to the ground. He's had 3 freaking decision wins. We're talking, these guys fought in the 30s, high 30s, almost 40 fights, 3 decision wins. I mean, that's fucking insane. I mean, that just shows he's a killer. He's coming in here to close the show. He ain't coming here to lay on you or hold you in his guard and just pray for the fucking final bell. No, he's here to end this fight, to end you, in some kind of fucking exciting, dramatic fashion. So, I mean, with that being said, I do want Charles to win. That's what I'm going for. And Islam has not fought anybody in the top 10 even, really, I don't think. Or, I mean, Hooker, I'm not sure if he was in the top 10 at that time. I mean, but either way, I mean, just the best guys. He hasn't fought them yet. But that just means there's a lot of these guys, like I said, they don't want to fight his ass because it's, a dangerous fight. And it's like, damn, I got to get Khabib right here. But, it could be his little brother. I'm going to get fucked up and just rape, basically. So, I mean, that's the one thing. I mean, I just feel like part of me thinks that if it does stay standing, if Olivera can keep it standing, I feel like he wins this fight. I think he finishes Makachev with some punches or kicks or whatever, or even if he hurts him and gets in a bad position and chokes him out. I feel that. But I just don't think that Olivera, because he is so confident on the ground, obviously, and he does get hurt. And if he does get hurt, Makachev, that's the difference between Makachev and these other guys. He's not going to be afraid to go to the ground. He wants to go to the ground. That's his whole game plan, his whole style. So he's going to go to the ground with him and do damage and try to pass guard or try to do, I mean, Olivera has been tapped. It's true. Anthony Pettis got him. I think Jim Miller. I mean, a couple guys have tapped him. So, I mean, nobody's untappable. I mean, of course, but that was a while back. We get it, all that. But I just feel like Islam, his style, I just feel like he has more ways to win. I think that I'm leaning more towards Islam myself. I made my final pick. I'm not going to. I just don't know. Like I said, I want Charles to win. Like, heart says Charles and fan, like as being a fan. But my mind is kind of leaning towards Islam because I just feel like he'll be able to take him down and not get it in any kind, and not take him down in a way where he's not in danger. He's just in a better position, a dominant position. Kind of like when Olivera fought Tony Ferguson. Everyone thought, okay, Ferguson's if he fights Khabib, he's going to be throwing elbows, he's going to be scrambling, he's going to be doing all kinds of throwing up submissions, doing all this shit. And he wasn't able to do any of that against Olivera, who's not Khabib. Khabib, he's not him. And he was able to not do any of those attacks, honestly, not do any of it, So, and this is Islam, who's better at that style of game than Olivera. He might be able to do this to Olivera, where he's stifling all his attacks before they happen, killing the hips, not, just being heavy ass pressure. And just, I feel like if Islam wins this fight, he's going to probably make it look easy. Like, it might be, he has the potential of just either maybe finishing him first, second round, like TKO or whatever, but really making it look easy. Or if it is just he's on top all the time, I just don't feel like for 5 rounds, if he's on top, dominating and punishing Olivera, I don't think it'll go that far. I feel like he would finish him. So it's all going to come down to me, like, as if Islam can't. I mean, if he has to think and pay, basically, like, to get, like, you got to make him pay for a mistake, or if, like, make it like, shit, I don't want to shoot on this guy because he's throwing up submissions like crazy. I just got hit with this fucking elbow, whatever. Like, he's got to, like, Olivera has to inflict some damage every time Islam tries to take him down or get up right away, throw submissions up to make it like fuck, I don't even want to take this guy down. Like, let's just stand, fuck it. Or even stuff some takedowns,